I'm Cell Block Psycho. I read the Goosebumps books. And tonight is the very last night of Goosebumps month. The month where we cover Goosebumps galore. And tonight, I offer you the most iconic episode in the entire Goosebumps series. One that could go without naming, and you would know what I mean. Ladies, gentlemen, I give you The Haunted Manse. I will admit that I really didn't want to cover this episode for the sole reason that everyone and their mother have already done a video of that particular episode. And frankly, there's not really much I can do or say to add on to what other people have done. But still, the episode won the little poll I set up on YouTube, so why don't we just deep dive into this thing? The episode stars the titular character Carly Beth, played by Catherine Long, and her friend Sabrina, played by Catherine Short. And that's the long and short of it. They're wandering through the neighborhood pumpkin patch to pick out a pumpkin for Halloween. Little did they know, this pumpkin patch has a little bit more in it than just pumpkins. They're jumped by two pumpkin creatures that happen to be some of the school bullies that put a little too much work into their act. These two jokers are Chuck and Steve. They'll be demons of the episode for the next hour or so. We've got our basic schoolyard bully here, and I'd like to say that the trend was just getting started here, but in reality it existed long before this episode. Carly Beth is tired of these two's shenanigans and starts to cry from the constant abuse she's been facing from the two bullies. Thankfully, her friend Sabrina is on her side the whole way. Right off the bat, you can see that this episode of the series is a lot more professional. While Sabrina's acting chops are a bit debatable, Catherine Long as Carly Beth is very good in this episode. We'll get to see more of that as we go on. Take a drink every time I say Carly Beth in this episode. We next see Carly Beth arriving home, to which we see a gift that her mother had made for her.
Mom, it's me. This face is me.
I finished it today in art class.
I mean, that's nice and all, but it's a bit creepy, don't you think?
It's kind of creepy, Mom.
Well, I'm glad somebody agrees with me. Her mother also made her a duck costume, to which Carly Beth recoils a bit in disgust. As she heads to her room to see it, her brother runs out at her wearing the accursing thing, scaring her to death. Poor girl. Even her dipshit little brother bullies her. Man, she just cannot catch a break. All in all, though, it doesn't seem to be that bad. Well, not yet, anyway. The next day at school, Carly Beth is accosted by Chuck and Steve once again. But this time, they seem to be offering an apology. Only the truth is that it's a faux apology, and they're only trying to distract her so that they can slip something into her sandwich. Carly Beth runs away as the entire school laughs at her. I guess she must have run straight home, as we see her next in her room tearing up the duck costume. You can really feel the inner pain of the character in this scene. Must give props to where props are due. Great acting and great music. That poor duck costume. Her mother worked so hard on that. Well, I guess it was kind of shitty. Carly decides to head to the local party store that recently set up shop in town and hopes to get herself a scary costume to frighten her arch nemesis, Chuck and Steve, and finally get her revenge. When she gets there, she finds that the store clerk there is a creepy sort that almost acts as if he doesn't want any customers. As Carly searches the store, she doesn't find anything really scary to wear. Well, there are plenty of really uncanny ones. Who made these? She notices a door to the back room that's only open just a peek, and what lies behind it is a row of the creepiest masks that Carly Beth has ever seen. Right as she's about to pick up one of these fabled masks, the store clerk barges into the back room.
No! I said no!
He tells Carly Beth that these masks are not for sale, and that she must go. But she can't tear herself away from these masks, as they're so frightening, so scary. She's found herself in a pole, an inescapable allure to the scaring potential they can offer her. The clerk tries offering her different masks, but Carly Beth just isn't sold on the idea and decides to steal one of the masks.
Here's your money!
Well, I guess steal is a strong word. She did give him money. She has second thoughts as she leaves the store and turns around to find that the store clerk has closed up the shop for the day, sneering at her from the window.
What am I doing?
She runs home and ogles the mask in the mirror, excited for a night of hijinks and revenge. Her first target, that little dipshit of a brother she has.
Stay away! No! No! Who are you? Why don't you guess?
After scaring him, she attempts to take off the mask, but after having a little trouble doing so, she eventually manages to pull it off. She and her brother then stare at the thing in awe.
That was great. You're really freaked out.
How'd you change your voice like that? That was the scariest part.
I don't know. But I like it.
Putting it back on, she heads out of the house with the plaster mold of her head on a stick because, well, I guess she just wanted to scare Chuck and Steve with it, but honestly, it's a bit more symbolic than that. Symbolism in a Goosebumps story? What is this, the Twilight Zone? After terrorizing a few kids, Carly Beth meets back up with Sabrina, who finds that her new outfit of choice is a bit strange and creepy.
Carly, but that's gross. It feels so warm.
It's quiet, Sabrina.
I think you should take it off.
At this point, we see that Carly Beth is starting to lose it. She attacks Sabrina in a fit of rage.
Said, but it's too weird for words.
Turns out Carly Beth was just shaking Sabrina, and it was all a joke. Carly Beth, of course, finds this to be hilarious. Sabrina, not so much.
I'm sorry. I'm just staying in character, getting in the mood.
As the night goes on, Carly Beth terrifies more parents and pisses off the local Karens of the neighborhood.
You tell your sick little friend that I'm gonna call the police.
At this point, Sabrina has had enough of this and leaves Carly Beth's company as she runs off into the night, scaring more hapless children trying to enjoy Halloween. Meanwhile, Chuck and Steve dance around in the cemetery because that's the cool place to hang out during Halloween, I guess. I guess I can't knock them there. It worked out really great for the kids in Return of the Living Dead. This leaves them open for attack by Carly Beth, who approaches them out of the fog. At first, they don't really buy into the whole get-up. But then Carly Beth's plaster head starts talking.
Apologize! Well, I promise you wish you never met her.
Sorry, Carly Beth. I'm sorry. I'm sorry again.
Help me.
Talked.
Please help me.
Carly Beth then runs about the graveyard like a rabid dog and buries the plaster head among the gravestones. She then continues to terrorize the neighborhood, even though her main goal of the night has finally been completed. Eventually, she meets back up with Sabrina, who she confides in about her night's exploits.
You didn't hurt them, did you?
No, of course not.
They then return home, to which Carly Beth makes a stunning realization.
Ouch! Carly Beth, what is it? A mask. It won't come off. Really? Can't get it off? It's like it's stuck to my skin.
They try everything they can, but the seam on the mask has disappeared, and the mask has become her face.
There's no line. There's no line here.
I'm gonna tell my mom.
His eyes. His eyes in the mirror. What about them? They're not my eyes, Sabrina. My eyes don't look like that.
She runs out of the house and tries to get help, but people find her too scary to even give her the time of day.
I'm supposed to be mean, but I'm not. I'm supposed to be mean, but I'm not.
Maybe don't speak in riddles if you want help, lady. She runs back to the party store to try and get some help from the clerk. He seems to have expected her and expected this outcome, and ushers her to the back room to explain things.
Still might be a chance. I cannot take it off. Only you can. With a symbol of love. I was the man who created these faces, Carly Beth. I was like you. I did not love myself. I made these faces to hide behind them, to hide my faults. But the faults were inside me. That's what infected the faces, turned them into monsters. Like this one is turning now. Very soon it will join the other failures on the shelf.
Suddenly, and pretty much for no real reason, the masks awaken and start to chase after Carly Beth. In the sequel, they say that the masks grow in power due to Halloween, but unless you're bringing up the festival of Samhain, shut the hell up. The effect isn't the greatest, but it's passable as these floating masks chase Carly Beth back to the cemetery where she defends herself with the plaster head she buried there earlier. Turns out that the plaster head was a symbol of love, which is what can remove the mask from its host. So Carly Beth is able to finally take the mask off and is free from its powers. Carly Beth runs home to her loving mother who has no idea of the night's shenanigans. But unfortunately, she should have kept a closer eye on the mask, because Carly Beth turns around to find that her brother has donned the damn thing upon his own head.
Trick or treat.
And that was The Haunted Mask. A lot of people say it's one of the best episodes in the series, and to that effect, I would have to agree. While it does have its moments of cheese, what's really here is really good to watch, and I would argue that it should have its place as a timeless Halloween story. The message of the episode is obvious in nature. It's about a scared little girl that tries to become someone she's not, and in that process she embraces evil, in which she goes on a journey to find and appreciate her own identity as the evil of the mask brought her to the brink. It's a heartwarming message, which is something that usually makes me sick to my stomach, but in this one it's not so glaringly obvious, so it's not so disgusting and obtuse while watching the episode. Compared to the other episodes of Goosebumps, The Haunted Mask deserves a 10 out of 10 for not only standing the test of time, but for being one of the most memorable episodes of the entire series, and having a good message to go along with it, so the episode actually has something to say and show for itself. I think it's a good story that'll resonate for kids for many years to come. With that being said, I'd like to point out that the video reviews I've done this week have been focused on one thing, and one thing only: the idea of evil. Different stories on how the outside and inside perceptions of oneself, along with the unexplainable raw power that accompanies this, can change you effectively. Change the person, change the identity, change the things you do. No matter who you are, the power of these events can drastically change what you consider to be your identity. No matter who you are, power and one's personal self-worth can define who you are, and most importantly, its worth to anyone. This has been my final episode of the month. Now that it's over, I wish you all thanks for giving this channel some attention. Words cannot explain my appreciation for that. But for now, the dream is over. And it's time. It's time to wake up.
Halloween.